Good morning and welcome to a new episode of Meatpacking Unpacked, Community Connected, brought to you by the Meatpacking District. My name is Jeffrey LeFrancois and I'm the Executive Director of the Meatpacking Business Improvement District. Today, I'm joined by Glennda Testone, Executive Director of New York City's Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Community Center, the Center. Since joining the Center in 2009, she has strengthened the Center's programs for adults, youth, and families, ensuring all LGBTQ New Yorkers have an opportunity to live happy, healthy lives. Testone recently helped launch a new Center brand and website, celebrated 30 years of service by the organization, and completed a $9.2 million capital building renovation that transformed the Center's community home on West 13th Street. She's a member of the Ending the Epidemic Task Force, which works to implement Governor Cuomo's plan to end the AIDS epidemic in New York. And she's since on the CenterLink board, the executive board of the CUNY University of New York Institute for Health Equality, and is a member of the Bronx Borough President's LGBT Policy Task Force. She's a wife to Gemma and a mom to daughter Frankie, and a French Bulldog Meatloaf too, if I'm not mistaken there. Got it.
Yep.
So Glennda, with all that, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm really happy to be here, Jeffrey. It's good to talk to you.
Likewise. And happy Pride, of course. It's June, so we'll start with that.
Yeah, thank you. Happy Pride. I was thinking when you were going through that, we have a lot of tongue twisters in the LGBTQ community. So,
and government's my background, and like acronyms are the thing, but there's a lot in there.
Yeah, but when you add LGBT and government, it explodes with acronyms.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what is the Center? What does it do for New Yorkers?
Well, the Center is, 37 years old. We were founded in 1983, and we are an LGBT community center for New York City and an LGBT advocacy force for New York State. So we have been providing programs and services for people in and around New York City, and that includes families, youth, adults, elders. And we really, wherever the community needs some support, we have tried to develop programming and evolve it over time to meet those needs. About 2.5 years ago, we launched a statewide advocacy program called Rise Out. And we have joined with a lot of organizations across the state to come together, share information, and try and improve this situation for the LGBT community. We have, I could say so much more, but I'll pause.
Of course.
We have 30 minutes.
No, I think I was unaware of the new advocacy arm that you guys created 2.5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Remarkable.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really great and accomplished a ton in the last 2.5 years, and is really important, more important than ever. Yeah, it sort of was prompted by the 2016 election. And the absence of the Pride agenda, and really feeling like we did a lot of research and surveying to see if this was needed, both with the community and community organizations, and the resounding information that came back was, yes, we need this. So we have been partnering, I think we have 41 official partners across New York City and New York State right now. And we've done everything from public education to civic engagement. This year, we're really focused on getting LGBTQ folks to fill out the census. Have you filled out your census, Jeffrey?
I have. Thank you for asking. Great plug.
Excellent. And also really trying to encourage voter engagement and voter participation, both, voting in New York City and New York State elections, but also obviously there's a big federal election coming up. So we've been mobilizing volunteers. We have over 600 volunteers across the state, and a core group of about 30 or 40 high propensity volunteers that we work with on a regular basis to try and make things happen.
That's great. And that's called Rise Up, you said?
Rise Out.
Rise Out. Gotcha. Okay. Love it. Of course. Rise Out.
Like Rise Up, but queer.
Right. Exactly. So it's a community center, which is usually buzzing with people. It's right on the edge of the Meatpacking District on West 13th Street. Yeah. And so what's that been like as New York's been on pause and the region's been on pause? How does community center, what have you guys done?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been different than the 10 previous years I've had at the center, where I think I've been there, almost every day, definitely at least once a week for the last 10 years, if not usually 5 or 6 days a week. So I haven't been to the center in 3 months, and it's really weird. We closed on that Friday. I think it was March 13th. Luckily, by that Monday, a lot of our staff felt very strongly this is going to impact our community doubly or triply, depending on different factors like race and just healthcare and whether people have access. And so our staff felt really strongly, we want to be there right away for people. We want to be up and running. We want to help combat some of this isolation that is now going to be a policy. The center was founded to really address isolation and bring the community together and make sure LGBTQ people knew there are other people like you and we can all come together and be stronger. So we had groups up and running and one-on-one counseling and substance abuse treatment online very quickly, closed on a Friday, up and running on that Monday. And we've just been adding since then. We've seen about a 40% increase in people participating in one-on-one counseling and participation in groups since we have gone digital. So lots of folks out there needing support and connection and really wanting to make sure, really wanting to get that. And so we have, as time has gone by, when we had, for example, the moment around George Floyd's death, we created 2 new groups in our youth program, online groups for young people to talk about both Black LGBTQ people and LGBTQ young people of color to come together and talk about current events and how this is impacting their lives. So when the pandemic first started, we introduced a couple new groups to our regular slate, which is about 70 groups a month that we're running.
Wow.
It's pretty significant, but we added a group that was a general support group in hard times, sort of the LGBT community comes together. We added a group specifically for single gay men who I think can find themselves uniquely isolated in this pandemic. And we give that in English and in Spanish. We have 2 separate groups. And then we started a mindfulness group to try and help teach people in our community to be grounded and mindful and just be able to take care of themselves during this challenging time.
That's fantastic. I think another part of the center has always been able to meet the needs of the community. And I think this just goes to show how important it is to be able to do that no matter what.
Yeah, I'm really proud of us and our flexibility and the pivoting that we've done to really be able to respond to this moment. And people are certainly appreciating it. I mean, you've been to the center many times, Jeffrey, but you walk in and you go up to that front desk and you're greeted by friendly people who will answer any question you have. Well, those people are now at home and they are still answering the phone and they are online answering questions for people. And especially when the pandemic first hit, we got so much feedback from people about how glad they were that a human being was actually answering the phone and could connect them to resources, COVID or otherwise, and just answer their questions and connect. So we've continued to provide that, and those information and referral specialists are at the ready all day long, 7 days a week, connecting with our community. And we saw, I think in the first month the building was closed, we had over 1,000 unique calls coming in asking for information and resources. So tremendous amount of help that we were able to provide there.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. So 11 years ago, you became the center's first female executive director, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, okay. 2 parts to this question. What would you tell yourself 11 years ago when you were stepping into that role? If you can come up with something now, sort of being where you are, I mean, even pre-pandemic, there was a lot of change that you oversaw, not just at the center, but as a part of the city, the state, and the country. And is there a bit of advice you would give yourself 11 years ago? And then what has this time been like for you as a lesbian, as a leader?
That's a great question. The first thing that came to mind that I would tell myself is get ready. You have no idea. You have no idea what is in store for you. You know, it's been an incredible privilege and honor, and so exciting and scary and magical. You know, I mean, images just rushing through my mind. The renovation of the building and being able to provide a space that people really love and that they still love after that renovation. Edie Windsor winning her Supreme Court case and holding her press conference at the center and celebrating there with the community, and just the most incredible, joyous time. And the Pulse shooting, and coming.
It just
together.
showed up when we marched by the center that time. You know, it's not often on our route to walk by the center when we're marching, and oh my God, that was it's been so difficult to see some of these memories that have been really meaningful, but then we really can't be out right now.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's challenging not to be able to be together. We have done such a good job of coming together as a community, and with everything that's happening now, it's very hard to be physically separated or even to be separated by masks. So I think my daughter's coming, maybe.
We'll see. She is. Making her appearances.
This is my friend Kendall.
Hi, Kendall.
This is my baby.
Oh, she is adorable. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, she's gonna sit on the potty. So we
gotta make that happen.
She's 1.5 years, so you know it's potty time.
Yeah, my niece, they were training for a long time, and then just all of a sudden, overnight, she started.
Oh my God, she just started pulling at her diaper, and then she's like okay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what's remarkable about the time is, as you said, we're so good about coming together. And, you know, I've been struggling with not being able to go to rallies right now. We're taking it really seriously and wanting to make sure we get this pandemic past us as best we can. Yeah. And to not be at that Black trans rally in Brooklyn was difficult.
Yeah.
And you and I know this, but a lot of folks don't realize that Pride, it's so colorful and celebratory now, but it started as a riot.
Exactly.
And I mean, what parallels do you see between what happened in 1969 and then what we're dealing with today in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, I think America is waking up to something that Black, queer, trans folks have known for a really long time, which is that this country is not equal for everyone. And people have tremendous struggles and systemic oppression that they are dealing with. I think LGBT folks understand this and can think of Stonewall and the events that happened there. It's important to learn our full history, especially I would say as a white person and a white leader in this movement. It is absolutely incumbent upon me to make sure that I know the history of racism in this country and what we can do as a social justice organization to make sure that we are including Black folks, including people of color in our community, and not just including, but centering those experiences and making sure that we are fighting for full liberation and freedom and justice for everyone in our community. And that is so broad and wonderful and vibrant and magical. And it is ugly and hard. And requires confrontation. And this is one of those moments. This is one of those moments where everyone needs to make a decision and stand up on the side of justice for everyone, or on the other side. And there's no standing on the sidelines. There's no neutrality anymore. I think there's a lot of parallel between LGBT white folks who get that, being LGBT, and Black folks in this country who for hundreds of years have been victimized. And so I see a lot of, I'm hopeful about this moment.
It does feel different. And I think it also shows another stark disparity and level of equality in the country is that everybody's been able to protest and speak out because they're home, they have time.
Yes.
And there's a different, what people can do when they have time is a pretty remarkable thing, I think.
It really is. It really is. I have a lot of friends and coworkers who are like, if this happened not in this pandemic moment, I don't know that we would be in the same place. So
that's just it.
I'm someone that tries to find the silver linings, and maybe this is one of the silver linings of the pandemic is people are home and have the time to pay attention and are really able to think about these issues and think about what's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I always think one of my first political jobs was for Assemblymember Dick Gottfried, who has been a stalwart champion of LGBT, the community, our rights.
1000%. Yeah.
And one of the things he said to me that has stuck with me so much is that, Jeffrey, it doesn't matter if there's an issue, and it was always about trans rights when we were trying to pass gender and all that kind of stuff. He said, I don't care if it's a good story or a bad story in the paper about any issue we're fighting for, because in the end, any press is almost good for the movement of whatever it is, because you're keeping it in the ether. Mm-hmm. And now there's been just, to me, at least I'm hoping it stays this way, is that these remain front page stories. And that because it's been so much front page news, people are really seeing it. And those divides. And you know, one of my questions for you has been like, what's your most important Pride memory that you can think of? If you have one in particular.
I think it was probably my first Pride with the center. The center does such an amazing job. Would it be okay, Jeffrey, if I change locations? I just feel like Frankie's pottied and now she's going to be
fine. Of course
running around.
Of course you can.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll come back.
Yeah.
Hi, Franks.
You said she's a year and a half?
Yeah. I'm not going to put you on camera. Uh-oh. Wait. Is that? Nope. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. I forgot the gate. There's a little step down to the basement. I'm like,
we don't need her rolling down there.
No, do not need her rolling down there. Okay. I'm going to go up to her room. Actually, this is going to be the most geographically diverse in my house.
You're in Asbury?
Yes, I'm in Asbury Park. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Frankie's. All right. I am.
The trade-off. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Apologies.
That's okay.
The first time that I marched with the center at Pride was actually the first time I marched in the Pride Parade. I had been to the Pride Parade as a spectator, crowded with all those folks on Fifth Avenue. And that was its own kind of unique, magical experience. To march with the center, it's just so incredible. It's families, it's seniors, it's babies, it's young queer people being out publicly for the first time. I was just so struck by the LGBT immigrants who were always part of our contingent, and have never been able to be so publicly out and celebrated by literally everyone around them. And so I think that first year when I just kind of took a moment and looked around and saw the incredible diversity of all the people marching with the center and how important and meaningful it was for some people and really for everyone in some way. There's just nothing like that. It's something every community member should experience at least once, because it is so great and affirming.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more in terms of being in the march and having that experience as opposed to just sort of being a spectator. It's pretty significant.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So what do we are, I feel like to a certain extent marching, shoulder to shoulder with folks in the Black Lives Matter movement because of what we've been through in the LGBTQ community. And I guess my thinking is if you have thoughts on this, what's next? What can LGBTQ folks be doing? How can their voices help those that have also been, diminished and separated for so long?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's so much that we can do. I think that for everyone in this country, it's important to take your place in this moment and in this country and leverage that to do as much as you can. So I feel like as a white leader in this moment, I can talk to the other white folks on my board and in my donor base and really make sure that they understand the connections between justice for LGBTQ folks and justice for Black folks and people of color. And that we really need to be fighting these battles together. And that feels like one of the most important things to be doing right now. It's different for different people. I think we have a lot of Black folks on our staff and some on our board, and they've been doing this for years and educating people and sharing themselves and telling their stories and just doing that emotional labor. And so my perspective is whatever they need to do right now, even maybe especially if it's take a nap, I fully support that. I feel like it is time for the people who can stand up to stand up and really be clear about the kind of country we want to live in. And the center is such a magical place because it is a microcosm. It allows people in our community to create a space that feels really positive and affirming, and then try and radiate that out as far as we can possibly reach. So I'm hopeful, but I know it's going to take a lot of work and persistence and consistency to get there. And at the center, we've been working for a couple of years internally to make sure that we are being as explicitly anti-racist as an organization as we possibly can be. And that is a lifelong journey. We will continue that work for our lifetime. But it feels really good to be able to stand up right now on solid ground and say, this is who we are and what we believe, and let's go make the world come with us. Yeah,
that's great. Thank you for sharing that. It means a lot to so many people. I think it's funny how the center, if you know it, it's just the center. Yeah. And then when you got to put all the words before it to get the idea of what it is behind it, and it's a resource for the region. And as you point out, now a leader at the state level, which is fantastic. So congrats on that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're really proud of that work. We, when the Pride Agenda closed, we took over the LGBTQ Health and Human Services Network. So we started just gathering more information about what was going on for people across the state, and having those connections. And, you know, this is sort of pre-democratic legislature in the Senate, so things were not, you know, you remember the time.
Yep.
And it's been miraculous to see both sides of that, and there's still more to do. Still, we gotta keep going.
Good. Well, let me pivot to our quick fire round of questions, because we want to unpack a little bit about Glennda. And I promise these questions will make you chuckle.
Okay. I'm scared of this part, but I promise.
Here. Well, that's why I don't tell people about it in advance. So
no, I read about it and I was like, what are these questions gonna be? Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Podcast or audiobook?
Podcasts.
Sipping cocktails or tearing it up on the dance floor?
Sipping cocktails.
Let's talk fashion. Prints or solids?
What was the second word?
Prints or solids?
Prints.
And then flats or heels?
Heels.
iPhone or Android?
Oh, iPhone.
Me too. A night at the theater or a visit to the museum?
A night at the theater.
Okay. And sticking with the arts, do you have a favorite artist of any genre?
I think right now the first person that came to mind, she's incredible and changed my perspective of what art could be, is Mickalene Thomas.
Okay. See, those questions weren't that scary.
No, that I did it. Yay. You had me at the first question because I'm a huge podcast fan.
What's your favorite podcast?
There's a podcast called My Favorite Murder, and
Ooh.
it's a true crime podcast done by these two women, George and Karen, and they just love true crime, and they tell these stories, and they're comedians. So they make it funny, which I know sounds crazy, but they really make it work, and it's just my escape. It just, I really enjoy it.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you so much for joining us today and unpacking a bit about you, the center, Pride, and all that good stuff. And folks can visit gaycenter.org to find out more info about the center. And we really appreciate you joining us today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. And thanks for the work you do.
Absolutely. And everybody, don't forget to follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel to get more updates about this show and Meatpacking Unpacked. And thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.